Hey, welcome to the process. My name is Dr. John Bush. This is ADP versus end of the season PPR points by position. Again, we're trying to establish what's gone on before so we can make some sense of what might happen in 2024. As part one. So check out the other positions, other parts. You know the drill. Let's start here with wide receivers, the ADP sector, and then the years 2015 to 23. The average total PPR points generated from that ADP sector over the last, was this 9 years? And so those numbers represent the average in that one sector per year, and then that average of total is the complete 9 years. So it probably should say average of 9-year PPR points, but I'm going to leave it like that. I colorized the metrics. Anything in green is the top 30%. Over the 9 years, and the bottom red is the bottom 30%. And the non-colored boxes are those in the 40 percentile. So you can scan across, look, and kind of see where things start getting dicey. For instance, if you throw out 2020, the first sector, and 2019, the 19th to 24th, looks like we're fairly good for the first 3 rounds, that we're in the top 30% or the mid 40s. So you don't start seeing a lot of failures. And if you kind of just draw an imaginary line, and if you'll follow the cursor here, look, check it out, look. It looks like in the last 4 years that the sadness starts much later. So we've seen a 4-year uptick in wide receiver scoring per sector, and the bottom tiers have been going lower and lower. So you think of safety would be actually increasing. So couple ways to think about that. One way might be, I can wait later for multiple wide receivers, or in the mid rounds, wide receivers will be safer than they have been. Could be. You can spend a lot of draft capital in the first couple rounds, say first 3-4 rounds, and get some major league wide receivers. That's true. So a lot of this data, at least how you should do it, those who are listening here, thanks by the way, check out ScienceFantasyFootball.com, where me and my partner D Mike hang out and do lots of fun things. We have podcasts and extra secret stuff happening there. Actually, you won't see the secret stuff. I'm working on that, and it's stays behind closed doors for a while. Don't know if it'll ever see the light of day, but hey, got to make a little money for my own. But anyway, what I'm showing you here is really interesting if you look at the grand changes. So the idea is that wide receivers seem to be less uncertain. Maybe you could say that. Okay. But remember, if everybody kind of knows that, then, that kind of information tends to be less valuable, right? Sacred information, scarce information, has overall less impact if everybody knows it, versus if it's secret stuff, then it has a higher level of impact. And I know research groups and folks that are out there, consortiums, groups, they got all this stuff. You know that they're out there. If they're not, they should be. If they're looking at Vegas gambling and big money kind of fantasy football tournaments and these kind of things, this should be. If anybody's interested in adding me and Dig Mike into these consortiums, I assure you we will give you a different perspective on where your group's at. So if you guys are even paying attention, probably not. Okay, so this is the kind of information I like to have. It allows me to start thinking about plans. And one could look at the, like I said, top-down view. And if you just kind of follow the grand average 9 years, and if you follow, it's clear round one WRs or something else. They set, if we're into the tier system, look at where these guys are sitting. For the most part, top 6 or the next 6 are about the same return. Okay. So, as far as if you're picking your position of drafting for wide receivers, there's no advantage or disadvantage for the top 6 picks versus the bottom 12. Might even be the close to the river, the turn there might be to your advantage. You can pick up multiple WR1s there to start your team. People have, advocated that kind of thing. But about 49 through 54, if you look kind of this next tier group here, in fact, you could draw a tier with, there was a little bit of issue here, but like these, this group here is kind of the next tier, and then we have these 4 sectors in the next tier, and then you start going down for the most part, and certainly after the 84th pick sector, we're starting to decline, and then getting serious declines by pick 121. Actually, probably 109 starts getting really uncertain. But it doesn't go down after a certain point. The uncertainty level is about the same. In other words, it's sucky, and it's not going to get any better after a certain point. It may not get any worse, but it's not getting better after a certain point. So you need to think about your travels down the draft, and again, look at the RBs, the QBs, the tight ends, and start making some global plans on some of your drafts here. This is just a way to kind of frame what's gone before to give you some insight to think about what to do. Okay, these are tools to help you think. These are not tools to tell you what to do. Okay, a lot of people, I think, get enamored with data and start getting, it's like flypaper, trapped in the data flypaper, and that's not what I do or advocate. But I like to understand trends and things and aspects of the data, and it helps me clarify and view things and decisions, right? Helps me make informative decisions, right, under uncertainty. That's what we're all doing here. Okay, continuing here. I do like to look at the populations, and I use the old box and whisker here. Probably need to get rid of that. That's the old box and whisker, just to see the population dynamics. And really, we haven't changed a lot since about, 2019? We look a lot alike. Yes, notice 15, 16, 17, 18, it's like a different world existed. So people, I think, forget things were different, okay? 5, 6 years ago. This idea that what's gone on hasn't ever changed, and that's not true. We're just in a different eon here as far as wide receiver drafting. So again, make sure you understand what the box and whiskers is telling us here. In fact, last year we had a decline in our upper rate, and this is the top whisker here. It's actually less of a top whisker versus the preceding 3 years. You really had some outliers out here that you could select in your draft. So that's kind of interesting here. So last year had the lowest top whisker in a long time. So, and one of the largest bottom whiskers. It's been a lot more, let's call it less uncertain. And then the higher the whisker down is higher uncertainty levels here. I try to capture by plotting the data, the end of the season versus the sector. Here's the sector, and then these are the actual end of the season PPR averages, first sector. And I've got some trend lines. Red is 2015, and we see a drop, kind of a plateau, drop again, and a little spike up in here. And I did 2017. Notice it hit a plateau a little early. 15 was way different. 17 was a lot more subdued. We hit a plateau and then really didn't spike at the end. 2022 was in orange. Here it is, the plateau and then drop. And then last year in yellow almost mimicked 2015, but notice it starts plateauing and staying higher than a lot of years. In fact, look at the trend is above, then it drops below 2022 here. So you see it's gentle, and there's these long blocks of plateau and not a lot of change happening here. Wide receivers have that tendency to have that less roller coaster, a lot more smoother effect in the trend lines here than other positions. So that's quite interesting. As you go down, it stays relatively smooth here. And if you compare RBs and WRs, it's a lot more chaotic. And take a look at WRs. Like I said, the top two. Look at wide receivers. Kind of almost, in other words, it looks like, I mean, just me reading the tea leaves. Looks like you should probably, in the top 6 picks, again, this is 9 years, take an RB and then a WR, okay? And then maybe switch back to another RB and then move on to something else, maybe a QB or a tight end here. So RB, WR, RB, and then maybe a WR if you can wait late, tight end. Of course, by about this time, you'll find that tight ends, the elites are gone. And that's what upsets the game. If we didn't have tight ends, it would be a lot smoother on what we would do. Tight ends are very intriguing as far as how they mess up what would be a lot smoother drafting here. And if you look at the populations, blue are RBs, WRs are wide receivers, and the 9-year clearly 2 different positions handled two different ways, folks. Do not think that they're the same. They're not. And the let's say the scarcity, the impact of the early RBs are greater than the WRs. If you just look at the top whisker length over the 9 years versus the whisker length here, very dramatic. If you've got a top RB1 type superior and then the bottom falls out, whereas WRs are smoother and you could get multiples will stay up in this whisker, and even when you drop down to the this is the whisker represents the 25 percentile, and notice how from 214 to 270, very close. If you subtract, what is that, 56? If you subtract here, what is this, 3175? 56.75. This is almost a third lower. So on average in here, you're probably getting a third lower overall value as far as average return on the pick, but we have to have one RB, one WR. In most leagues, probably it's 2 and 2 or 2 and 3 or 2-2 and flex. There are some leagues that you can get away with one RB and concentrate on WRs, or you can do one WR and 3 RBs. You have some flexibility in some leagues, so it depends on your build. But this is the reality here. They are not the same. So if you think about drafting, you're having to bounce back and forth between RB and WRs. My partner D. Mike on Science Fantasy Football has actually developed a drafting plan better than zero, and you can check all that out, where he advocates stockpiling RBs later in the draft that you might think you might be taking more WRs, and he would argue take RBs, get your key WRs, and then go to RBs. You don't know who's going to take over for some type of injury, but the idea is there's churn in the RBs because of injuries, and so you have a greater impact. So what that does is balance out the population structure here in the two positions. That's one way to do it. Another strategy is draft some key RBs and just hope for no injuries and then go to WRs. So you do have to plot strategy on how you deal with these population dynamics. If we plot the overall 9-year average, overall, the sector before the season and then after the season, and that's what the dots are, the trend lines. RBs are in green. They're always below the WRs. So on average, with no any kind of movement up by injuries, if that's your choice, WRs are going to be the choice. However, if there is going to be injuries, and so embedded in this big trend are these blips to where there is an injury, and then an RB takes extreme value relative to what their average value would be. So it's kind of like winning the lottery there. So you need to, at least D. Mike would argue you should enhance your chance at winning that lottery there. So check out that WR, but I mean his better than zero drafting. So anyway, there's the overall trends, and notice that the RBs drop and hit a plateau, and there's the decay rate's a lot more dramatic. If we plotted And if you looked at this, look at the slope of this line versus the slope of this line, a lot more gentle here. So less dramatic. The bottom doesn't fall out where in RBs it does, compared. Notice they narrowed down in here. So there is an opportunity here to grab an RB that has about the same values of WR. There's this spike in about the 9th round that, in fact, see right there, that green dot there, the green dot there, there is some evidence. There's a 6-round evidence and a 9-round evidence over this period that there's something happening, that they fall together. So there's extreme differences in certain sectors, and in other times the RBs actually are higher than the WRs. And you can see WRs really much higher in these sectors here. So you got to look at the overall trends to get an idea of really what's going on. So I'm going to stop here. I'm going into the rounds. So I do like the sectors to break rounds into two, but I kind of go up a little bit and look at round by round. That may a different way to look at the data, right? Any kind of way to look at the data that's different could increase your comprehension and thought process. That's the only reason I do this, not to just do it, right? Everything is designed to look at things a little different. When you're breaking a system down into its components, deconstruction, it's best to, okay, if I move this way, what happens? If I do this, what happens? And so it's kind of like there's not one way to deconstruct something, right? You're tearing down a building, there are probably processes, but not every building has the same process to deconstruct it. Okay, so this is part one. Come back for multiple parts here for the WRs data here. So thanks for listening. It's Dr. John Bush for The Process, Science of Fantasy Football. We're having fun. It's in mid-March. Everybody's having that basketball madness. I'll let y'all figure that out. Some of us are working on data and trying to get ready to whoop your butt come September, October, and collect that check in January. So I do not spread myself to other sports, besides horse racing. That's just a donation on my part. Love the horses. I hope I donate to the trainers, the jockeys, the track, with my losings there at the horse races. So take care. Come back. Part 2 WRs coming up.